Hello, how's everybody doing today? So, in light of recent conversations surrounding Israel and Palestine and the war and people taking sides, I wanted to make this video to help you understand some things from a spiritual standpoint. And the first thing I would like for you to understand is that war and the energy of fighting and being at odds with people is an actual spirit. There's a spirit of conquest, a spirit of division, a spirit of wanting to take over. There's a certain energy to war. And if you really pay attention, war is rampant across the world, the entire continent of the United States, the North America, South America, Asia. Every continent right now is experiencing some type of war on a major level, right? There's people at odds. And the second part of that is that you have to also understand people don't have clean hands, meaning most people involved in a conflict, in a war on either side, have had times when they were the aggressor. Now, I don't know the particulars of this particular war, and I don't care to know the particulars of who did what or whatever. It's been going on longer than I've been alive, or 70 plus years or whatever. And other wars that have been going on 200-300 years, I'm not into that. The wars that we have, that many wars that are starting, the Civil War that's starting in the United States and different things, and lots of different things, right? The origins of that, it's not really the question. Most of the time, people who are in these types of situations have times when they were the aggressor, and that energy actually has to cycle back around. So you have to understand that, right? The energy has to come back, and that is part of the problem. And I know people like to say, well, in this particular case, you may be right. But there's a history, and there always has to be a reckoning for that history. And that is the cycle, right? So the ways to avoid that is to do internal work. And I know people say, well, this country was minding their own business and that country was doing this and that. But at some point, they weren't. Today, they are. But at some point in the history, they weren't. And therefore, that energy keeps cycling back through and cycling and cycling and cycling. Now, then people say, well, how do you avoid war and things of that nature? That's an internal work. That's an internal work for people to look within and start to say, even as a country, make peace with other people. And I know the best way to start to avoid the energy is not to start the energy, not to take over a place by conquest. So let's just say theoretically you go in the middle of the jungle and you live and you didn't take over by conquest, right? You weren't involved in war. That's pretty much not reality for most of the world. Most of the world has been involved in conflict, even in the jungles, right? So that spirit keeps running rampant. But at this point in our world where there's such a spiritual awakening, people are looking at the war, lots of wars, from just a religious standpoint. And I know, as a person who have done a little bit of research on some things, there have been wars that have been started and they were said it was because of religious differences, and then when you look deeper, it's like it's in a land that's full of some commodity, oil, gold, some mineral, some resource, and really somebody was trying to take over the resource, right? And that comes out later. So when people decide to take sides and say, I'm for this one and I'm for that one, and they don't have the whole history, that becomes another issue, because now you're taking that war and you're putting that into your spirit, and you're really feeling passionate about it, and that thing is starting to become a part of your spiritual walk, right? And you don't need that. If you are a person who prays or manifests or sends positive vibes, different things that you call it, the best thing that you could do is to send the positive vibes for peace, right? And throughout the world. And the best way to do that is to maintain peace within yourself. Can be difficult to do, can be tricky, yes, but that is the best way to help. Sometimes we as a collective like to get on apps and say, hey, you have to be one way or the other. And there is often a third way. And there's a way of actually trying to seek out peaceful resolutions. And peaceful resolutions look different for different people. Okay? So that's what I need to say to you guys about war in essence, and what you see with all these different places, and regardless of what country you might be in, and you see someone taking this side or that side, you don't have to take either one of those sides, especially when you don't even know why the war is going on. As a matter of fact, the best approach is to not take a side when you do not know what is happening. Now, of course, there's people who deeply know the history, and everyone has a valid point from their perspective. Those people who deeply know what's going on have a right to take a side. If you don't know, your best bet is to send love and peace to the places that are at war. And there's lots of places at war right now. All right, I hope you guys have a fabulous day, fantastic day. Be well, have some peace, have some meditation, spend some time in prayer. If you can, spend some time in nature, rejuvenate yourself. All right, don't cause any trouble. Have a great one.